Good to go.
Good to go. Minutes restriction?
Yep.
Good.
Not super prohibitive though. Yep.
Right back in the starting lineup.
PBD, as far as you're concerned.
You talked about rebounding earlier today, and I wanted to follow up. Is that sending more guards to crash the boards, or is that just kind of emphasizing a little bit more to your bigs? I mean, what is the in these games where you got to take care of that, kind of how do you do that?
Everywise, probably the same thing we ask for every night. Hopefully, we have a little heightened focus knowing what we're up against. I'd say we tried to emphasize a couple of things. We're a heavy help team. Like we want to be in help. There's some times you have to be careful about overhelping and letting Angel or Cardoso walk up your back when you're not really doing anything in help, and then all of a sudden they have a rebounding position. So knowing when we need to go find them earlier, maybe when our help isn't needed, then we got to go back and find the body instead of just kind of, I'm in help under the rim and all of a sudden I have no rebounding position. So maybe a little bit more of a focus on that in this game.
You mentioned the other day, I think Jen asked about the Julie Slim combination, and I know you've said you kind of you want to try some things out a little bit as we go down this final stretch. Are there any other combinations that you can share that you either liked or are eager to see?
I think Emily, we have now tried with a few different ones, and she's been pretty good with all of them because she can space the floor. And I went with her and Steph down the stretch the other night, and that was something we've done over the course of the season, but that was probably the first time down the stretch of a game like that. I think we'll see Shug and Sika at some point, and so that'll open a whole new world of combinations. Haven't seen, Carly for a lot of minutes lately, so you'll see her with Jade at some point, and all the different ones like that. It's almost too many to really. We need a few game sample size and then kind of take stock where we're at. So more gut feel at the moment, and sometimes just trying to make sure I have enough shooting on the court to balance whatever else we got going on.
Yep. Coach, do you feel like you've game planned for Chicago differently now that Marina is
gone? Yes, and also Kennedy not playing. It's they're very different. We have different personnel. They have a couple of the same people that we saw before, obviously Angel and Kamilla, but definitely different. Rachel replicates some of the shooting from Marina. It's hard to replicate Kennedy, but they're not going to play 4-on-5, so I'm sure we'll see more Dane Evans. I'm sure we'll see more Mariah, probably maybe a little more Diamond. So different. It's kind of like we played a 2-game series back then, and now we're going to play a 2-game series the next couple of weeks and kind of start fresh with some reminders from the past.
I'm just thinking about the Aaliyah Angel matchup, and just as a coach of a sort of a high profile rookie, what have you appreciated most about Aaliyah in terms of how she's come to the team and showed up as a member of the organization?
Probably the thing that sold us on her, to start with, is just steadiness. Comes in, does her work, great teammate. We know effort's never a concern. I think she shows a desire to get better. She likes playing. I know, like the previous 2 against Chicago, she was like ready to go. I think she relished that challenge the same way Angel did. I think she just felt like a good pro already when we got her in the door, and it's felt that way through the season. And we're just trying to help her develop skill-wise, mentally understanding this league and the adjustments you got to make from night to night, and we're just going to keep plugging away at that.
Tyler?
Hey, Eric, I'll ask you about Aaliyah since you just talked about her. You mentioned how 2 of her best games this season were here against the Sky. What about this matchup just fits her game and how she's able to be successful?
I think it's a pretty physical game against them, and it's an effort game. You have to take the challenge physically against their bigs, and I think that's right in her wheelhouse. Putting a body on somebody, rebounding the ball, finishing in traffic, all those things I think are areas that she's very comfortable with. So I'm sure there's a little extra juice in it for both sides, and that's okay. That's good. Yeah, and I think did she start both those games?
Yes, she started both those games.
Yep.
Second one's just big game for you guys tonight, knowing where you guys are in the standings. I know you said you're aware, and you know the players are certainly aware too. What's how do you feel the team's mindset is in this game, and knowing that despite all the stuff that you guys have been through, you guys can get right back in the thick of it with your performance tonight?
Haven't said a word about it. Haven't said a word about it. We want to show the same mentality we have the last couple games. You know, we come out of the break, lose our first three. We didn't talk about it then. Now we win 2 in a row. We're not going to talk about it now. So we're just going to keep focused on what we need to do tonight. We want to play better. We don't feel like we're playing as well as we can yet. Our defense has stepped up a notch. I think offensively we can be better. As everybody's pointed out, I suddenly have a lot of options at my disposal in terms of rotations and combinations. So I'm worried about that far more than I'm looking at the standings.
Thank you.
Ben?
Hey Eric, what's the latest on Kira?
Looks pretty good. I mean, out tonight, obviously, but swelling's not too bad in the ankle. She is off the crutches and walking around in a boot. I think she had on a boot this morning. So avoided anything major, serious long term, sounds like.
And then, it comes up a lot over the course of a WNBA season, like how little practice time there is. But at the same time, the other night you mentioned, there are lots of opportunities for players to improve during a season. I'm just curious if you can say more about, how you look at that and how you kind of approach that or talk about that with the players.
A little bit different for everybody. I mean, we kind of have meetings and talk about plans for each of them. You know, after we get to a certain point in the season, you can be maybe players can be a little bit more realistic about where they are in a team's rotation. But I think I used the example of Emily the other night. Like between the end of training camp and now, we maybe only have 20 something real practices, and that's counting the Olympic break. But there's also probably another 20 optional days where she has made a point of coming in and doing her work. We have one practice the other day in Seattle, and I thought she had an excellent practice. And I don't think that's an accident. She's found a much better routine around that. And then, we see players all the time. Practice may or may not happen. Shoot around, pregame. There's a lot of opportunities if players approach it the right way, focused on the things that we have agreed to focus on. You can get a lot better in a short period of time if you're willing to work each day.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's it. That's all.
That's it, Coach. Thank
All right.
you.